I think it's about time that we need to speak against the actions of the government demolishing public properties all over this country. So we see it in Abuja happening at the Federal Capital Territory and in various states of the Federation. The recent one that the Lagos state government demolished a very large expanse of land, along the lagoons at the Third Milan Bridge. And when something like this happens, after a lot of public upheaval and outcry by the people, the victims, we see that nothing happened eventually because the government tell them you can go to hell. Nothing will, and the matter will just die down and forgotten, and people will have to put up with it and move on with life. But it is completely wrong for government to be taking this step and with impunity and just get away with it and keep quiet about it. Please. There are certain legal terminologies that are known in law for several years that are changing. Things are changing. Of course, the law is dynamic. And when we look at even in England, where the principle that the kings or the queen does no wrong, several years has been dropped. And the government is now held responsible to its actions. And whatever the king, it's not everything that the king or the queen in England does that is correct, and the government can. Let alone, let's talk about our own domestic affair in Nigeria, where we practice democracy, constitutional democracy, where power is not concentrated in one king, but shared among three arms of government for the sake of check and balances and for the people to speak also. So the voice of the people and other arms of government should speak to this matter and get things right, rather than for the government to just take action and say, you go to hell. Because when something like this happens, we ask ourselves, is there no law? Is there no procedures of law? Is there no better way of getting things done? And where is the place of consent? Where is the place for consent? Where is the place for equity, fairness, and justice? So these are the questions that lies in the mind of the people. Look, if I have to speak as a lawyer, for example, it is easy for me, like any other lawyer would do, to conclude that what the government has done is correct. Because from my experience as a lawyer in property transaction, especially from my knowledge of that particular corridor, of the lagoons in Lagos, I can conclusively say that the government is correct. Why? Because that axis is a committed area. When a place is called a committed area, it means an area that has been earmarked or committed for future government projects. Some parts of this area are committed for jetty side, some parts ferry side, some are for urban renewal scheme. I know all that. So we will blame the people ordinarily that it is expected that any diligent and careful property, purchaser in Lagos, in a place like Lagos, should seek the services of lawyers and surveyor to really confirm the status of the land before payment or concluding transaction on land. So it is a general, for people to have failed to do that, then we can easily conclude that in the first place, they cannot place something on nothing and expect it to stand. Eventually it will collapse. So it is easy for us to say that the government is correct because the people are wrong. But look, let's face it squarely, in the interest of justice and fairness, and say that it is wrong for government to have taken that step. Yes, it is. There are other ways to get things done. There are other ways to get it right, better than the manner it was carried out. The manner it was carried out is violent. The manner it was carried out is inimical to the well-being of the people. The manner of it's carried out is completely unconstitutional. Let's look at some of the reasons that the government has given. The concrete one among them, anyway, is that the people do not have approved building plans. But I see that as a political statement, because in the first place, a committed land, people cannot have approved building plans, because the reason is this. In Lagos, before you can obtain building permit in Lagos, you must present your title document. And what I mean by title document is a registered title, such as C of O, consent, government approval, or registered deed, or any other document that shows that the government, your title is registered with the government. That is when you can get the building permits. I know there are some people that will go in a Nigeria way just to get the building plan stamped and those crooked way and all of that. That is not what I'm talking about. So to actually get building permit in Lagos, you must prove title, and these people cannot have title. So it's a political statement for the head of building control agency to just come up and say that it's because people don't have approved building plan. They cannot even have it in the place. Let's call a spade a spade. And what the government has done is wrong, as I've said, because I think it is high time now we begin to apply certain principles of law against the government. There are certain principles of law we are lawyers who will say, oh, no, these ones are not applied to the government. For example, the principle of equity that is embedded in the term laches and acquiescence. It is high time that such principles is applied against the government. Because even in England, where we say that the king or the queen does no wrong, this principle has been dropped, as I said. And there are so many other principles that are applied against the government or against the queen in England or the king in England, and in the interest of the people, in the interest of better life for the people. So it is time now that we need to cause a change, because law itself is dynamic. Law is dynamic. So, like it's an acquiescence. If the principle is to the effect that if you allow your land to lie fallow and you see people coming upon your land and you keep quiet, and after a long period of time, people have put building on it and living on it, and suddenly you just come up and say this land belongs to him, to you. Then we say that no. The law will say no. Equity will say no. You slept on your right. Equity only aids the vigilant and not the indolent, and you cannot benefit from your own wrong. That is the principles of law. It should apply to government at this time. Because even in England, where we have a level of concentrated power, let's talk about a democratic system of government. In democracy, where governmental power is not concentrated in one individual, but shared among three arms of government for the sake of check and balances. So why don't we have such principle being applied here, that it is unfair for the people to be chased away and their property being demolished and ask them to go to hell and all of that. Where is the place for consent? Where is the place of equity? Where is the place of rights? Even under our constitution, again, let's look at it. What the government has done is unconstitutional. Yes, it is the right under the constitution of every citizen of this country to live in any part of Nigeria, and that goes to show that for their property to have been taken away from them, because the constitution also says that no person's property can be taken away except by due process of law by way of compensation. And don't say that they are not entitled to compensation because they don't have title, please. Let's look at it in a squarely. Let's look at in the interest of justice. Don't cite any provision of principles of law. Quid plantator solo sedi. No, that whatever attached to the land belongs to the owner of the land. Look, that is not the here. That is not what it is here. Let's start applying principles of law against the most advantaged personalities in government, not to the disadvantage of the people. You can see how the government is treating the people. So it's high time we as lawyers, we began to develop principles and convince the judges to begin to think, and the judges thinking in another dimension about all these principles of law that is in favor of the government and against the people. And we continue to afflict ourselves as people that are out of government, and the people in government who are at advantage position, are benefiting from all these wrongs in the name of government. So please, I think it is high time. For example, when we look at countries like, I won't go far, South Africa, we look at India, judges in these countries have made several decisions where government demolish properties of the people, and the judges, are of the opinion, and they have their decision to the effect that if you demolish people's property, you have infringed upon their rights to property. And property, being, shelter being one of the basic needs of man. Your infraction upon the right to property of the people is an infraction to their right to life, because if you take away people's property, you have impacted negatively upon their right to life. So, and courts in those countries has even gone ahead to make decisions by directing the government to take, step to seek for, to make a resettlement arrangement for the people. So we are not disputing the fact that yes, the government can take property. Of course, the law says that under the Land Use Access Law, that all the lands in urban area in every state of the federation is to be held by government in trust for the people. And let's look at it, in trust for the people. So we don't say that the government has no right to take over a parcel of land in the public interest. That is what the law says, public interest. So, and if you have to do that, there are better ways to get this done and get it right, so that the people will not just be, be in pain of the actions of the government. So, and let's look at it again. This thing that I've just taken place is all over the place, is on news, is on the net, and the world is watching. So when are we going to change the narratives of who they say we are as Africans, as blacks? When are we going to change the narratives? When are we going to change the story that has been put forward several years and they are still acting on it today? When are we going to change? When are we going to alter the situation of things, please? Look, have a look up at the way Encyclopedia Britannica describe Negroes, the blacks. Look at every word used. Look at the way we are described in some part of the book written by Lord Lugard, The Dual Mandate, about who we are as Africans, as blacks. Look at that. Then don't let us say that these are colonial racial prejudice or mentality, but all these things we are doing to ourselves is a clear interpretation, explanation, and direct definition of what they have given to us. So please, I think it is time for the government to have a rethink on this matter of demolishing people's property without finding for them, or without even meeting them one-on-one and have a resolution on the best way to handle the matter and the best way to treat the people. Let's stop being animalistic. Let's stop being unfair or unjust. This action is against justice and fairness. It's a repugnance to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. So it is high time, I think, the government needs to have a rethink about this issue. I just dropped this for whosoever may care to listen, and I hope one day in this country we get there. But it is high time, and it should begin now, that we change the narratives in this country for a better life for people, for the better life for the citizens of Nigeria. Thank you.